This meeting is being recorded.
You hear that?
Yeah, and I had a little thing pop up as well.
Oh, I didn't do that before. This meeting is being recorded. Wow, this is official. Right, okay. Hi. I'm Headley, another fat bearded man talking about records, and this is...
I'm John, 6-inch pianist, 319. Don't forget the digits.
Yeah, what do the digits mean? It's your pin. It's your pin number, isn't it, for your credit card?
That's right. Yeah, it's my pin number. No, 319 or 319 is a Prince tune, of course. So off the Gold Experience, of course.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever asked me that.
I just thought that there was 318 people that got the name before you.
Well, obviously, when I picked the name with giving it absolutely no thought, and obviously having regretted it ever since,
I wouldn't know what you mean.
Come up with a quirky vinyl related name, but obviously when I thought, 6-inch pianist, that'd be quite funny, and I put that in. It was, there was already a 6-inch pianist, and I thought, well, rather than going 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, until I get to one that hasn't been picked, I thought, 319 Prince tune, that'll do.
Well, it's a name that works for you, I think. Okay, well, we don't really have an agenda really with this one. This is just an opportunity for us to have a bit of a chinwag, really. We just thought we'd let you kind of guys in on it. There's no theme insofar as it's just stuff we've been listening to, new or old, really. I've been buying quite a few stuff, actually. I've been naughty. I shouldn't have been.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, I think it's because I still haven't quite gone out any record shops or anything like that.
Have you not?
No.
I see. So when things sort of started to open up again here, I think there's a period of about 2 weeks where I went to record shop every day. Yeah, every day. Yeah, they're like kicking me out at the end of it. Just To
be fair, it would get me out of the house.
Yeah.
I've done some charity shops. And in fact, I'll tell you what, I'll start with a couple of things just quickly that I picked up in a charity shop to say, sometimes I like to buy odd-looking records because you don't know quite what they are, a blind buy. And I'm willing at a charity shop to take that risk for £1 or whatever it was. And I went to a local charity shop and they had a bunch of Czech or Czechoslovakia, because it's old, Czech Republic now, or Slovakia, records. And I looked amongst them and I thought, well, I'm gonna pick a couple of them. They look interesting. Now, the first one I got was this, and I in my head, I like that sort of Balkans brass music. That was all the big thing, that Beirut did, and I kind of got the idea maybe that's what that was going to be. No, it wasn't. It was rubbish.
So looking at that just makes me think that across the country, all of these charity shops that have had all these crap big band records for the past 20 years that nobody's bought, they've brought them all out because I know there's people like you and me, absolutely itching to buy records.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I just pulled the trigger on anything that I saw. Is it Moravanka? Yeah. So no, terrible. Kind of. I thought maybe folky. It wasn't. It was kind of like. I imagine it's slightly kind of a state-run music of sort of patriotic stuff. The other one I thought that's an interesting cover. Look at that. That's got to be something kind of like maybe some interesting Czech classical music or something like that. No, it sounded exactly like the other one. And then this one, which I think you knew what you're going to get. It says The Country Album by Carol Gott. And he does things like Adela the Dealer. Where did I put my glasses? Oh, there they are. Take Me Home Country Roads. Together Again, City of New Orleans. All in Czech.
So was he like the... I suppose the Czech version of John Denver or something like
that? No. He is the Czech version of Tom Jones? No.
Oh, right.
Wayne Newton. That sort of, he was this is the only country record he's ever made. He's not a country person. It's just, a bit like, Dean Martin did a country record, and it's that. Yeah. And there's a really interesting version of Roy Orbison's Crying, which is the opening track, and it's the only song on it that I reckon is any good. I think those are going to go straight back to the charity shop. So yeah,
they won't have them. They won't take them back, Headley.
No, they will. They will. I'm going to leave them. You know, I have a way of sneaking things back in. I did it to you, didn't I, John?
You did, yeah. You did. We won't talk about that though. Right. Okay, my turn. Right. I don't think I've got any comedy records like you've got there, but what have I got? Right. Okay. Something that I don't show.
This is where it starts. The episode starts now.
Something that I don't show on my channel very often is hip hop, because I feel like a total fraud talking about hip hop. Do you know what I mean? You know, hip hop clearly is a genre of music that really wasn't made for me. But and part of the problem is as well is that I only really like one period of hip hop. I like late 80s, early 90s. Anything outside of that, I really struggle with. So whenever I buy a hip hop record, it tends to be from that sort of period. And this is Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full. For me, the greatest hip hop record of all time. Absolutely timeless. It's brilliant. And I had a copy of this years ago, and I gave it away. And I've given a lot of records away over the years, or I've sold records, and I've never regretted any of them, you know, because you find them again. But this one always bugged me, you know, why did I give it away? But I found a copy of the day, a lovely copy on 12. You've got to get the 12-inch. It's the cold cut mix of this tune that you want. And absolutely great. And another reason why I like this as well, and a real bugbear of mine with hip hop, is the bad language, Headley. I don't like the bad language.
Get out of here.
And the reason why is that I'm one of these annoying people that at home, I play music so that everybody can hear it. And having a 4-year-old son, I can't really play hip hop when it's chock full of expletives, basically. So I wish that, I was saying to somebody today, I wish that, you know, hip hop albums there'll be a clean version and an original version, you know. So the clean version, they can swap the dirty words or the curse words for something else, you know. Well,
that was like, I always liked the radio edit of Prince's Sexy MF.
Yeah.
Because it kind of did this, you sexy mother, and it went, do.
That's right, yeah.
And I really liked that version. It was almost like censoring. I liked it.
But I mean, it's bad enough being a Prince fan. I played Prince music a lot, obviously, at home. And obviously with William Litboy, I say he's 4. So like, the other day I think we were sitting down eating dinner, and I was we're playing Purple Rain. And of course, that's fine, apart from Darling Nikki. Yeah, you know. So it's just quite interesting. We're sitting at the dinner table, you know, just chatting, and when he gets to that line, both Joe and I started talking a bit louder to try and block it out.
Well, it's like I nicked my mother's copy of Leonard Cohen. I don't know if his first album, I can't remember, but it's got Chelsea Hotel #2 on it. And that's not his first album. But of course, it's got that line, giving me head while you lay on the bed or whatever. And I suddenly realising my mother was listening to this. That's just wrong. No.
Yeah, but that's like, that's only the same as Walk on the Wild Side.
Yes,
which is still,
I know. Yeah, but my mother wasn't listening to Walk on the Wild Side. She was listening to Leonard Cohen.
But Walk on the Wild Side is, you know, that is still played on the radio now. It's never been bleeped out or banned. No. And it's only because when the BBC first listened to that song, whoever it was, they didn't understand what the term meant. And therefore it was allowed to be played. And obviously at some point when somebody realised, I thought, well, we've been playing it for 10 years, so we might as well just keep playing it. You know? So,
I love the cover of that Paid in Full, though. That's a lovely little package, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
I think that's one. In fact, they should have gone with that for the album cover.
Yeah, actually.
I know the bit dollar bills on the cover, but that's just a great record.
So it's a great sleep, but yeah, a brilliant 12-inch as well, you know. So cool.
Right. Okay. I picked up this about a month or so ago. Swampland Jewels, which is one of those records that you've really got to have just for the cover. I love it, and it's Cajun and sort of Zydeco stuff. Originally, this was released in '79, I think. It's all on a label called Gold Band record label, which is specialised in Cajun and Swampland music. And it's wonderful. And this is a repress from a couple of years ago on Yep Rock Records. And it's great. And it's got a couple of tracks on here that were sort of big Cajun tunes. Is there such a thing as a big Cajun tune? Well, no, I think it's Paper in My Shoe was the first sort of hit. It was a Zydeco song. And there's one called Sugar Bee. That's the one that's the first sort of got into the Billboard charts as a single. And it's great. And it's also got on here, it's got a guy called Pee Wee Kershaw. Now, for those of you who know something about Cajun, you might know the name Kershaw, as in Doug and Rusty Kershaw.
Oh, right, okay.
And Pee Wee Kershaw is their older brother.
You've got to say you'd be their younger brother, surely.
No, he's their older. Exactly. Pee Wee, you'd have thought. And maybe he's just come late to it. I don't know. He's just cashing in after his younger brothers. But yeah, really great. And it's kind of like that Cajun with a bit of rock and roll thrown in. And it spans from the sort of the 50s through into the late 70s, some of this stuff. But it's wonderful. It's great. And with a cover like that, you've just got to love it, haven't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, the cover's great. I mean, is that a crayfish, is it, or something? What's she riding?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, but it's... I know next to nothing about Cajun music, I'm totally honest.
No, I bought a book. I love the sound of it and Zydeco. And I bought a book about Cajun music, and it was very hard going. And I got about 50 pages in, and it just wasn't for me. And I might have to dip into it, but maybe I need to find a better book that makes it a bit more accessible. But yeah, it's certainly something I want to learn a little bit more about, because I like what I hear when I listen to it.
Right. Okay. Right. So this is Felt and Crumbling the Antiseptic Beauty. Now, this is their debut album, I think, from '82. Now, for anybody who doesn't know Felt, they're a Birmingham band. Do you know them at all, Headley? Do you know
I've heard of them. They're one of those bands that I was always told I should be listening to.
Yeah, well, that's it, and it's very much that sort of jangly 1980s, indie sound. And they're from Birmingham, as I say, but I always associate them with the Scottish bands from that period. You think about the bands that were on Postcard Records.
Postcard, yeah.
Yeah, the likes, Aztec Camera,
Orange Juice,
yeah, Orange Juice, Joseph K, and then later on Bell and Sebastian. They seem to fit into that, that sort of category, that sort of mould. But yeah, this is, I say, debut album, and this must be a mini album actually. It's only about half an hour long, but very nice. I have a few of their records. Lawrence, the lead singer, is a bit of an icon now. I suppose it's one of these stories where having a little bit of success and a little bit of that sort of cult success is worse than having no success at all, because you can't do anything else. So he's had a life totally devoted to music, and he's always been that sort of Neely man. When Felt broke up, he put together a band called Denim, and they made a wonderful album in about '92 called Back in Denim, and it was just pre-Britpop. If that had come out 2 or 3 years later, it would have been massive. It was just full of big, Britpop sounding tunes. It was just a little bit too ahead of its time, basically.
Was he later on the Go-Kart Mozart?
Go-Kart Mozart, yeah, that's right. So. Yeah,
I always thought the idea that he did Felt and then Denim. I just thought maybe he was just only doing band names with material.
That's right. Yeah,
maybe Gabardine would be next or something.
But I mean, Go-Kart Mozart again, just great, interesting pop songs, and one of my favourite album covers. I can't think what the album's called, but it's got a picture of the Bullring, the old Birmingham shopping centre on the so the old brutalist monstrosity that we had in the centre of our city.
Beautiful work of art. Yeah,
it was. No, it was, but it was cruelly ripped down a couple of decades ago. But there you go.
Okay, my turn. Okay, this I got the other day. This is an old record that I bought. I've been looking for this for ages. This is Messing in Muscle Shoals by Bobby Hatfield, and this is from '71, I think. I'll say it's 71. Got a lovely, great big price sticker on it, which, as it's one of these American covers, that's not coming off. I like a nice laminated cover where I can get some lighter fluid under it and get under. Yeah, it's not coming off there, so I'm not even going to try. But yeah, of course, I was talking to you about this the other day, wasn't I, John? That Bobby Hatfield is probably better known as one of the Righteous Brothers.
Yeah.
And this is very unlike, as the title says, Messing in Muscle Shoals tells you, it's very unlike the Righteous Brothers. This is recorded at Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, with the sort of the session band with Travis Wammack playing guitar and harmonica on it. And it's a great, what you'd expect from Muscle Shoals, really. It's that early 70s Muscle Shoals pop, soul, rock kind of stuff. And it's got the opening track, You Left the Water Running. Who had the original with that? Do you remember?
Well, Otis did, didn't he?
Was it? Yeah.
Because the Otis version was due to be released as a single, and it was pulled when he died because of the, You Left the Water Running.
Oh right.
But, yeah. So yeah, but there's it was a hit for a few different.
It was all right though. He had a good posthumous hit though, didn't he? So
yeah. He did. Yeah. Well, yeah. To be fair.
But yeah, You Left the Water Running is a great horns and funky lines. It's this is one of these records that I've been trying to get for ages, and so even though it's got a nasty stick, I was very.
The thing is though, you talk about Muscle Shoals. There must have been so many records made with that. Muscle Shoals Studios with that rhythm section, whatever, which you don't know about. I mean, every week you could turn up another gem. There's that much music that came out from that studio and, Fame Studios as well around that sort of period.
And just the singles, because it's the singles that the people would go in and record one or two, or that's how people like Travis Wammack. I'm saying Wammack in a really weird way. Wammack. There we go.
There you go.
So British, and that's how he started. And they allow them to do one single, and then if it goes well, they give them another one and an album. Then, So very pleased to get hold of that. So not like the Righteous Brothers whatsoever.
So Travis Wammack, did he?
Wammack.
Yeah. So did he record much of Muscle Shoals?
Yeah. Well, he was in the Fame Studios. He was part of their band.
Right.
And he recorded his first album there. Just trying to think if they were all there. So I mean, they've all got that sound,
right?
That sort of southern country soul kind of thing.
I don't know those records at all.
They're really worth it.
So much music. Yeah,
they're really worth it. Travis Wammack albums, they're great.
Cool. Right. Okay. So I'm going to show. Well, there's a couple of records here I'm going to show at once. So basically, you sent me a record a couple of weeks ago. Well, I just dig these out. Sorry.
What was it? Czechoslovakian? It wasn't Czechoslovakian, was it? No.
No, it wasn't. You'd have had that back. That'd have been back in the post by now. No. So you sent me this record. This is Diana Trask and Miss Country Soul, which was very kind of you, Headley. And the reason why you sent it to me is because this album is full of songs written by Joe Tex. So you've got the original version there. This is it? There you go.
That's the reason I sent it to you. I got that.
That's a much better cover, isn't it?
I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry.
but I did listen to it, and to be fair, the standout tracks, the last two tracks on the album, Hold What You've Got, and I Want to Do Everything For You. All of the songs on here are written by Joe Tex, all Joe Tex covers. So that got me pulling out old Joe Tex albums, of which I've only got a couple. But he recorded for Atlantic, and they're fairly easy to get, not particularly expensive, and all well pressed, all on Plum Atlantic. I mean, this is a compilation from 1970. It's UK comp, and actually, I was reading the notes on the back. This came out in this country because he was touring with two other acts. It was Joe Tex, Arthur Conley, and Sam and Dave. Now that's a night out, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Not bad.
I never realised that Joe Tex wrote all this stuff himself. I knew what a great performer he was, great R&B soul tunes. But yeah, he pretty much wrote all his own stuff. Fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, yeah, and And he's done some. He's done a kind of a country album. Actually, we were talking about that earlier. There's certainly one of his that is that, which is probably why it lends itself quite well to Dinah Trask doing it.
Yeah,
he already has that southern kind of grit to his soul music.
I'm just going to go and put the light on because.
So I'll fill in.
There you go.
No, for some reason I thought you were going to be going away for hours.
Yeah,
I had visions of having to go down to the basement to crank something.
Yeah, no, fully here in Birmingham, we've just got a switch that we press and the light comes on.
See, I'm in Yorkshire.
Yeah,
I've got to put shovel some coal to get it going.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Now this came today, so I don't know it very well. But I've been listening to it all afternoon because I think it's cracking. This is Owen Lake. Was it Lark? No, Lake. And the Tragic Loves, The Best of Your Lies. Now, I picked this up on Amazon, and I was just telling John a while back that I was trawling through as a cheapskate, trying to find what they had going cheap, and I found this for about £3 or £4, and I read a little bit about it, checked out a track, and I thought, I'm having that. And basically, what it is, it's a country record. As it kind of looks like, but it's a country electronica album. So it's got pedal steel guitar and fiddles and sort of harmony singing and everything you'd expect in a country song, but it's got programmed drums and synthesizers, and it's got lots of cover versions of famous country songs. So you've got Will You Miss Me When I'm Gone by the Carter Family, Pardon Me, I've Got Someone to Kill by Johnny Paycheck, Long Black Veil, but all done in a sort of a modern electronica kind of way. And it's amazing how well the kind of synthesizer blends with the pedal steel guitar. And it's one of those records that sounds awful. On the face of it, if someone said it's a country dance record, you'd imagine it being something like, what was it, Cotton Eye Joe or something like
well,
that.
I must admit, when you first started describing that, I did think to myself, that sounds absolutely awful.
Yeah. You're wrong. You are, I would say that. But yeah, it's great. I think check it out on YouTube or wherever, because it's Owen Lake.
So when is that from, Heavy?
It's from 2018, so it's quite new.
Right.
I should have said, one of the things that's quite lovely about this actually is it's a kind of a hand printed cover, which isn't perfect, and there's like a little bit of a scuff there from the printing, and on the back you can see it's not quite perfect. Yeah. That's what makes it kind of lovely, because it gives it a little bit of a unique.
It's interesting because who is that aimed at? So if it's country songs, is it aimed at a country audience?
No.
It doesn't sound like
it's certainly not aimed at a country audience. I think it's probably aimed at hipsters, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's. I'm just seeing if there's anything interesting on the back. It says publication of this record is made possible in part by a grant from the Bar Ferry Foundation Publication Fund, Department of the Art and Archaeology, Princeton University.
Right.
There you go. Well, they've got money to throw away on electronica country records.
So I wonder if it was something to do with something educational, whether it was...
Could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, recorded by Jeff Snyder at the Princeton University Electronic Music Studios. So it probably is... it could well be someone's doctorate.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bit like the... wasn't Bell and Sebastian started...
Yes, Tiger Mill.
As a project, a university project. It was actually a music business they were doing, weren't they? And so they kind of put the band together and marketed it and got the record made. Anyway, yeah. So really interesting, weird stuff. I'm gonna put a needle drop of that at the end, so you can agree that it's rubbish. I mean, sorry, brilliant.
Right. Okay. So there's a reggae tag going around at the moment. There's lots of tags going around at the moment, Heather. Though you've noticed.
Don't look at me.
I'm still blaming you for starting this tag thing. But anyway, right? Okay. So what I am going to do, I've been quite enjoying doing them actually, because you know, for each tag, I sort of spent a week leading up to it listening to that music. So I'll probably do the reggae tag this weekend.
And then the soul one. You're going to be a busy little chappy, aren't you?
I might do the soul one as well, you know. But yeah, so here what I've got is Dennis Brown. So in the early 80s, he recorded 3 albums for A&M. And it's clearly a case that the record label wanted a crossover reggae artist, you know, so signed Dennis Brown, and you've got this weird mix of 80s production, roots reggae, but also a little bit of soul and funk. There's a few ballads in there as well, you know. It's clearly sort of aiming for the mainstream, and this album works quite well. The title track, "Love Has Found Its Way," is brilliant. Actually, I was thinking about this earlier on. Where I live next to a park, and quite regularly we have a guy turn up on his bicycle, and on the back of his bike he's got a boombox sort of taped to the back of it, and he's always playing reggae. And I don't know, a couple of years ago now, we were out in the park and he turned up and he sat down on a bench and left his bike there, spitting out this music, and he was playing "Love Has Found Its Way" by Dennis Brown. My little boy went over and started dancing next to him, and it was just quite a nice moment. So there you go, that's where I was to go. But anyway, so I was playing this earlier on, and I was playing this, which is the follow-up album at A&M. The second side works great. It's just a lovely early 80s roots reggae album. But the first side is quite jarring. It's a little bit early 80s funk, and you can see they don't quite know where to pitch him. And they've just thrown a few different styles at it, and it's a bit of a mess. But there you go.
Can I just ask a question? I like reggae, but I often find that the terms that are used for the genre is a bit confusing. So you say roots reggae. What would you say roots reggae is? Yeah, so it's that,
predominantly 70s reggae with normally a sort of spiritual message, I suppose, you know, so sort of steeped in Rastafari culture and whatnot, you know, not necessarily pop reggae, which is what a lot of this is. Yeah. Which is pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, it's I mean, if you play songs back to back, you play a bit of Lovers Rock, you play some roots, you play some rocksteady, you play some ska, you can clearly hear the difference in every genre, you know, so every subgenre. But yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, it's nice records. But I just find it interesting after Bob Marley died, you can see record companies were trying to find a replacement, and I think that's an example of that. So, but nice records.
But it wouldn't be really. I mean, when was that sort of revival of reggae that they made it into the pop charts? Sort of the early 90s.
Well, it did, but even in the early 80s. I mean, I always say that for the UK singles chart, 1980 is the greatest year for the UK singles chart, because it contained everything. There was heavy metal. You know, you got disco, you got the last throes of disco, you got last throes of punk, new wave there coming in. You've got lots of reggae, lots of ska. You got this whole ska revival at the time. You've got the mod sounds from bands like The Jam. You know, it's all that Secret Affair. It's all there, you know. And you've got classic pop songs. Yeah, so I think 1980 for me, certainly that period, sort of 78 through to about 82, a really high quality of stuff and a real mixture of styles. I don't think it got any better than that.
Certainly made watching Top of the Pops interesting.
It's brilliant. You know, you look at those old Top of the Pops, but the early 90s, you're talking there about sort of 93. You had that, it was a summer of reggae. You had a lot of stuff coming into it. Artists like Bitty McLean, you know.
Demas and Pliers.
Yeah, Chuckademus. I mean, that's great. Tease me. It was a great choice. Yeah. You know? But yeah, that was early 90s, and yeah, nice stuff.
Yeah, cool. I've got a couple more. Should we keep going? I don't know how much time we've got left. This is the problem with these. We haven't got a timer, and I didn't look at how long it is. How long do you reckon we've been going for? Don't tell me. I'll stop. Right. Okay. I got this again really cheap recently.
Yeah.
The recent album from Loretta Lynn. It's called Still Woman Enough. Of course, she had an album back in the 60s called Are You Woman Enough? You're Not Woman Enough to Take My Man, which I've got somewhere. I won't be able to get it, but and it's wonderful. And it's because I think she's had a bit of a rebirth after she did the album with Jack White. She sort of found it a bit like Johnny Cash did, and actually, I've got another one down here. Where is it? There it is. Yeah. So I've also got the kind of one this is the one she did after Portland, Oregon. What's it called? Is that what it's called? That's just
the Jack White ones.
Oh,
Van Lee Rhodes.
Yeah. And actually, I like what it's like they're doing what Johnny Cash did with his American recordings. And actually, I think that tells you something about the records as well. They're very honest. There are lots of sort of old, well-known songs like "I Saw the Light," "Coal Miner's Daughter." She does on here again, which "Keep on the Sunny Side," but they're done really sort of rootsy, very sort of acoustic country, kind of slightly folky country, bluegrassy country, I suppose. And they are lovely. They are lovely records. And just like Johnny Cash, I think anyone that's not really into country, I think these would be a very good entry point. Her voice, to say she's in her 80s, quite well into her 80s, I think. And it's still there. She's still got a great voice. It's not like some people when they get a bit past it that actually, I mean, like Johnny Cash, but it kind of worked for him. On some of them it worked, but on some it perhaps didn't. It didn't have
that was part of the charm, wasn't it? I suppose part of the appeal of some of those records. Well,
certainly for things like "Hurt."
Yes,
It needed that damaged voice, that voice that was going. That was but really lovely record. Any of those Loretta Lynn records, I think you would enjoy them. They're in fact, talking about Johnny Cash, it's co-produced by John Carter Cash, and they call them, what do they call them? They're calling them this is volume 3 of the Cash Cabin recordings.
Right.
So trying to do again like the American recordings, they're called the Cash Cabin recordings that Johnny Cash's son has produced. Nice stuff.
I really like the Van Lee Rose album that was produced by Jack White, and what what was clear there was that Jack White was just clearly a massive fan of Loretta Lynn. He just loved her music, and you could hear that in that record. And as you say, once again, her voice was just full of sass, full of swagger. She absolutely nailed that record. I've listened to the latest one. You sent me the link on that. I haven't heard the records in between, so I should check those out.
Yeah.
Very good. Right. So how do you feel about buying records that you've already got on CD? Where do you stand with that? I
would never in a million years do that. And if Louise is watching, I'm sticking to that.
Because I mean, I'm pretty good. I don't tend to do that very often. However, this year I have, and I've been buying these PJ Harvey reissues. So I had some of them on vinyl already, and what started it off was, she's re-releasing all of her albums chronologically. So every 2 months a new one comes out, and they each come out with an accompanying demos record. So I started off, those first few albums I absolutely love. So I thought, well, I've already got them on vinyl. I'll pick up the demos records, and once you get going like that, you've got the set. So then you start picking up the holes, the gaps that you've got, filling them in, and I can sort of justify that up to the last album that she put out, which was Stories for the City, Stories for the Sea, which was the album that came out in 2000. I think it's her best record. It's one of my favourite albums from this century. It's an absolute, classic record. But now we're getting into a period where I kept buying her music, but at the time, I wasn't as sold on the album. So now, not only am I buying something I've already got, I'm buying something that I perhaps wasn't as keen on. But this has proved to be a good thing, right?
Of course.
Because it's made me go back to this record. So I saw her live around this time. And the issue that I had with this record was that Stories from the City was, great songs, quite a polished production sound, very accessible. You can see why it sold so many copies. You can see why, I think it won the Mercury Music Prize, didn't it? The follow-up is basically just her playing everything. It's a little bit more ramshackle, a little bit more DIY. And I remember hearing it at the time, and it wasn't what I was expecting as a follow-up to Stories from the City. So I sort of listened to it a little while. I saw her play it live, and I put the CD back on the shelf. But with these reissues, particularly the fact there's a demos record as well, I've really gone back to it, and I absolutely love it. And it's almost like 20 years later, or 18 years later, whatever it is. It's sort of found its space for me. I sort of understand it more now. And I think it's perhaps just the fact that at the time I was expecting something totally different. It's my sort of preconception, I suppose, what she was going to put out next. And she followed it with something very different to what had been a big success for her. And I suppose she may well have sold far fewer copies doing that. But I think it's an interesting listen because of that.
I always find it weird that I've never kind of got into BJ Harvey. I remember buying one of her very early albums. Or was it maybe the sort of EP stuff, or was it the 8-track?
Yeah.
And it's very raw, isn't it? Very sort of punky, and I think it wasn't really for me. Which actually her later stuff should be. It should be that kind of slightly more singer-songwritery. I mean, with a kind of a big heavy twist to it, but. And I just don't know. I mean, actually, I saw her at Glastonbury in '95 when she was wearing that kind of pink-purple jumpsuit.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it. I have to say, she was great on the main stage at Glastonbury. But I've never really. I think the only thing I own by her, of course, is the duet she did with Nick Cave.
Of course, yeah, Henry Lee.
Henry Lee, yeah. I think I've got that,
But it's interesting because, obviously already having heard all of the albums, what is new to me, the demos, and it's interesting how fully formed these demos are. She's clearly turning up with the idea for the song totally mapped out, completely mapped out. She knows what she wants to do. And I think in the case of a couple of these releases, particularly To Bring You My Love, her third album, the demos record is as good as the actual album, and the album's a classic, but the demos was breathtaking, and absolutely stunning record. So worth listening to if you want to check that out. But this is really nice, and as I say, I've sort of rediscovered this record, having bought it twice more.
I would be a total sucker for anyone that I like doing a re-release of sort of a bonus disc of. I love the way there's something quite good about that, is that you don't have to, if you just want the demos or the extra tracks, you can just get those separately, as opposed to having to buy the 3 disc set or whatever. Something quite nice about that.
The first few albums that I had on vinyl, I just picked up the demo records that sit alongside it. But the other thing I should say about these as well is that the pressings are fantastic. I mean, so often I buy modern records and they pop all the way through, or whatever. But these sound great. So much care's gone into them. So yeah, really good.
Shall I do one more? Well, you've got another one.
Each, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
one more each. Okay. Okay, so this is Bela Fleck and Toumani Diabate. And as you can see, Bela Fleck is here playing the banjo, and Toumani Diabate is there on the kora. And it's a live performance. It's a double album, this. Really boring, it's just them playing, isn't it? Yeah. And it was part of this was released last year on Rounder Records. And Throw Your Heart Down was a series he did, and they're originally just on CD, of collaborations with African musicians, and he went to Africa and recorded with them. But unfortunately, while he was there, Toumani Diabate wasn't available. He was touring or something and couldn't get together. And eventually, they managed to get it together, and they did a live show together. Which this is a recording of that live show. It's called The Ripple Effect. I think the original wasn't called that. It was just called Throw Your Heart Down Volume 3 or something. Right. But and it captures this incredible sound of the banjo and the kora, and it's again a bit like that record I showed earlier. The sound of that doesn't sound particularly appealing, but with someone like Bela Fleck, who I showed a record of his a couple of videos ago. He did a banjo concerto. sort of, he's a real virtuoso on the banjo. He's taken it into different areas, jazz, classical, and into world music. And the interplay on this between the banjo and the kora is just unbelievable. To say these two artists, only had a brief period to get together to work up things and get it together. You'd have thought these were two artists that have been playing together for years, all their lives. As I said, the interplay between the instruments is just beautiful, and it's fun as well, because they even have a bit at the end called, they do a version of dueling banjos,
right?
But dueling banjo and kora, which is fun. But it's that sort of thing where the kora kind of starts to follow the banjo, but eventually starts to take it into different areas, and it sort of embellishes it, and it's absolutely wonderful. Beautiful.
So those two instruments, would you expect to find those two instruments played together?
No, but they're both African instruments. I mean, the banjo comes from Africa. Those sorts, the banjo comes from Africa, its roots are there. I mean, it didn't literally come fully fledged like a banjo, but so I suppose it's not surprised that the two instruments work. That there will be African instruments that sound a bit like a banjo, but just together. And the live show, I mean, it's one of those gigs that you just go, I wish I'd have been there. Yeah, I think it was pretty much a one-off. I think they did. I'm not sure they did that many shows, but I'm glad they recorded it.
And when is that from?
It was. This is from last year, but it was recorded. This is the 10th anniversary.
Right, okay.
It was released 10 years ago, and obviously they did it probably the year before or whatever. He was in Bamako in Mali, but he was trying to find Toumani Diabate, but he couldn't. It was one of the few people he couldn't find, but eventually did.
So I imagine there's some footage of that on YouTube then, I suppose?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I've not really thought to see if there's the live show, but it might well be bits of it, yeah. Really worth looking at.
Oh, look at that. Cool. Right. Okay, finally for me, this is the new Jane Weaver album. So the album's called Flock. This is a rough trade exclusive version. It's on a fancy coloured vinyl, but also comes with an additional CD of remixes and stuff, which is quite good. She's quite nice. But I really like Jane Weaver. All of her albums are interesting. She's got that whole sort of psychedelic sound, that sort of late 60s sound, but mixed in with, a bit of krautrock, a little bit stereo lab at times, that type of electronic feel. But really, really strong songs. I've seen her play live a couple of times, and she's fantastic live. Get a chance to see her. And, I'd say this is probably my album of the year so far. It's certainly got my favourite song from this year on it. The Revolution of Supervisions is the single from the album, which is absolutely wonderful. So, check that out. But, I mean, what a great sleeve, look at that.
When she plays live, what does she play an instrument? Is she?
Yeah, she plays synthesizers. Yeah. So, but she, got a really good voice as well. She obviously sings in that high register. It's very stereo lab, but it's it really works. She's touring later on in the year. I've got tickets to see her in Birmingham later in the year. So, can't recommend her enough. Really, really interesting album, and as all of her albums are. What got me into it? She put out an album called The Silver Globe, probably about 2014, 2015, I think it was. And there's a track on there called Argent. If you want to just check out anything, check out that particular song. It's about 7 or 8 minutes long. It's got that really sort of driving, motoric, krautrock feel about it. Great melody. And that totally sucked me in. So ever since then, I've been picking up her records. But yeah, really nice stuff.
Didn't she release a kind of a remix album of that, sort of an alternate version of that?
Yeah. There's bits and bobs like that. A lot of her stuff is being remixed. I suppose it lends it, being electronic, it does lend itself to that. As I say, this comes with a CD of remixes, all of which are interesting and worth hearing. So yeah, it's nice.
Well, thank you, John. That looks cracking. Some interesting stuff to look at. This is me. I've suddenly got all presentery, haven't I?
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, proper Terry Wogan now.
I was thinking more Russell Harty.
Yeah.
That's lost the American audience. Okay, right. Well, let's call it a night, shall we? Thank you for anyone who's watched it this far. And we might tag a few needle drops on at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
To give you an idea about what we've been listening to. Cool. Okay. Well, thanks, John. Until I see you again. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
The recording has stopped.
Some boys say they like your eyes. I heard some boys say they love the way they hypnotize. Oh, honey, I don't know what it is you got. All I know is that got what it takes to take what I got. Oh, now some boy. Just flew into Atlanta, heading for Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Population 8,000, Riverside. Son, don't let 'em catch you drinking inside this county line. Catfish, bootleg whiskey, and a southern drawl. We thank you. Come again, you know we appreciate you all. Yeah! Love has found its way in our hearts today, yeah. Love has found its way in our hearts today.
No! Get off!